So lovely to be here with everybody this evening. As we always do in this class, I'm going to invite you to start it however you would like to be. If you'd like to sit, you are more than welcome to sit. If you'd like to lie, you are more than welcome to lie. But I want you to just be in a place where you feel comfortable. If you are lying, then you might want to put things behind your head, behind your legs. If you're sitting, you might wish to lean against something. That could be a chair, that could be a wall. You might just want to sit on a cushion or a block or something comfortable to help to elevate the spine. And then what I'd like you to begin to do is just start to allow your attention to draw inwards. So allowing that to happen in the most comfortable way for yourself. For some people, that is allowing the eyes to close. For others, that might be with eyes open, but without kind of letting the eyes get distracted with moving things. So if you are looking at a screen or looking at something that's moving, maybe just finding something that's still. For some people, that's covering the eyes. But also another way of going inwards is to just acknowledge the fact that we've got ourselves here. So of all the different things that we could have been doing, sometimes the things that we feel we should be doing, you've made this decision to be here. So taking this time to acknowledge that this 75 minutes is dedicated to you. Taking some time to acknowledge the different layers of ourselves. And these layers within the yoga practice are called koshas. And we've got 5 predominant koshas. And we're just going to spend a few minutes just kind of exploring each one of those as, again, a way to go inwards. So the most obvious place to start is with our bodies. So this first layer relating to our physical body, to our skin, to our bones, to our organs, to the fibers of the body. Just acknowledging how the physical body is at this time. And any information that you may need to know about your physical body. Maybe areas of yourself where you might be being a little bit more considerate. But maybe there's also parts of you that you feel would benefit from some movement or some stillness, some attention. So acknowledging this body that we've arrived in. And the next layer of ourselves is known as our energetic layer. And it very much relates to the energy that we feel within our bodies. The upward energy, the downward energy, the inside to outside energy, the energy around us. So just noticing how your energy feels today. Depending on when you're practicing this practice, it might be that your energy is just naturally feeling how it is at this time of day or evening. It's natural if you're doing this in the evening that you may feel a little bit tireder than if you were doing it during the day. But also we may have a difference between the energy in our minds and the energy in our bodies. And our breath is closely associated with the distribution of energy within ourselves and around ourselves. So just for the next moment or two, I'd like you to just become aware of your breath. So you don't need to change your breath or alter it in any way. But just acknowledging how the breath is as it makes its inward journey and its outward journey. The next layer of ourselves relates to our mind. I'd like you to just notice how your mind is at this time. Maybe the mind is feeling busy. Maybe it's quite quiet. Maybe the mind is scattered. Maybe it's really focused. Your mind may be in the present moment, or it may be drifting into the past or moving into the future. So just acknowledging how our minds are at this time. And closely related to our mind is any mood or emotional states. So notice if there's a dominant mood that you're experiencing. Maybe there's layers of moods that you're feeling. Maybe a feeling or a mood has been around for a while. Or maybe what you're feeling right now is just a fleeting experience. The fourth layer or the fourth kosha relates to our intuition. And what I'd like you to do is just take a moment just to acknowledge why you've made this effort to be here this evening. What your expectations are from this practice. Maybe how you'd like to feel or what you'd like to experience. So tuning into that intuitive state within ourselves. Then the final layer relates to us as a complete human being. And it's the things that bring us joy. the things that make us feel alive, those things that make us feel truly connected with ourselves and with others. And it might be something really simple like a word. It might be a memory. It might be a person or an animal. It might be a place. Or it might be something that you create completely within your whole being. A place where you feel joy. A state of bliss. So allowing yourself to connect with what brings you joy. What fulfills you. Allows you to feel truly yourself. And then from going through this layers of the koshas, this connection with all of those different parts of ourselves, begin to allow yourself to breathe just a little bit deeper. And as you breathe a little bit deeper, just begin to encourage a little bit of movement. Maybe back into the fingers, maybe back into the toes. You might find yourself just naturally having a stretch wherever you're sitting or lying. You might want to have a yawn or a sigh. And then what I'd like you to do is, if you are sitting, is come and lie upon your back. If you are lying, I want you to get rid of any bolsters or blocks that might be underneath you. Other than a support for your head, you might just want to keep something for underneath your head if you find it useful. I'd like you to have your knees bent, your feet upon the floor, and just take a moment just to kind of feel into the lower back, just gently feeling into the tailbone and into that pelvic region. And then we're going to lift up our right leg and draw our right leg up in towards our body. So you're going to bring your hands and interlace them either around the front of the right shin or the back of the right knee and the thigh. So we're just allowing this gentle opportunity to squeeze that right leg in towards the abdominal area. You might find yourself just wanting to gently circle through your right foot, maybe circling the ankle, or maybe you find yourself wanting to point and flex through your feet. And then if it feels okay for you, I'd like you to slide your left leg away from you. So you're going to slip that left leg maybe to straight or nearly to straight towards the end of your mat. So by doing this, it will just start to create a little bit more of a sense of stretch across the pelvic area. You might find that a little bit deeper through the right glute area. So as we always do in this practice, what will start to happen is the instruction will become a bit less. The time and the silence that's offered to you will become a little bit more as the practice goes along. But a reminder to yourself that whatever you feel in this practice, If it feels like pain, if it feels uncomfortable, a little bit of discomfort is okay, but uncomfortableness is not okay. I want you to adjust, change, to come out, to do what you need to do to allow yourself to feel a little bit more at ease, feel a little bit more comfort. So we're going to slide your left leg back up towards you. So you're bending that left knee, placing the left foot upon the floor. And then you're going to place your right ankle over your left thigh. I want you to take your right hand and just gently push your right hip away from you. So you're pushing that right knee lightly. You could use fingertips or the palm of the hand. If you find it difficult to maybe reach, you could always put a block and push the leg away with a block in your hand. So we're just gently stretching into that right hip area. The left hand, you might just want to rest it on your abdomen or just flop it down by the side. So just exploring how that feels into that right hip joint. And then if it feels okay for you, I want you to take both of your hands now and reach towards your left leg, picking your left foot off the floor, and see if you can draw that left thigh in towards your body. So as you do that, you will probably start to feel a little bit more of an intense stretch through your right hip area, through that right glute. Some people like to just have a little sort of rock from side to side. You might find that helps to just settle the body a bit. You may actually find that by lifting that left foot off of the floor, it feels too intense for your body. So you can always put that left foot back down, or if you're near a wall, you could always put your foot against the wall and push the wall away with that left foot. So you've got a little bit more support there for some people. That feels a little bit more comforting. So we're working into that connective tissue around that right glute, hip area, around the right lower back. For some people, they also find flexing the right foot towards the knee can be quite a useful thing to do as well. Depends on how sort of mobile you are through your knees and through your hips as to the formation that you come into here. So when you feel ready, we're going to bring that left foot back onto the floor. We're going to cross our right thigh now on top of our left thigh. And then if you find it useful, you might want to pop a bolster or a cushion or a blanket over on your left-hand side. And then you're going to bring your knees over either onto that support, or if you don't need the support, you can just get rid of it and bring them onto the floor instead. So just choosing what feels comfortable and right for you. I want you to stretch your arms out at chest height. So you're making a T shape with your upper body and then turning your head potentially in the opposite way to the way that your legs are going. Now, if you find this too intense with the legs being crossed in this position, I'd invite you to uncross your legs and just still bring them over towards that left-hand side, but by uncrossing them again, it will take some of that intensity away. Notice, particularly in these twisting positions, sometimes we can be holding tension in unusual places. So you might be holding it in your fingers or in your hands. You might be feeling it in your toes or in your feet. You might feel tension around your abdominal area or this sense of sort of holding on or pulling in some way. And see if you can just let go of some of those areas of tension. You might also notice tension where the head is making contact with the floor or with a cushion or a blanket. maybe around the jaw or around the throat area. So when you feel ready, in a couple of breaths' time, I want you to just gently start to think about unwinding yourself out of this position. So you might just turn your head back to the center. You might uncross your legs. You might want to bring your arms closer to the body and then gently rolling yourself out. As you come out of that position, you may well find that you want to hug your knees in towards you. You might find actually you need to do a full body stretch. So you might want to stretch those arms over the crown of the head and point and flex through the feet. You might want to do some circles with wrists and ankles just to kind of release any tension or tightness from there. And then we're going to start off again in our semi-supine position. So with our knees bent, our feet upon the floor. And we're going to hug that left leg up towards the body. So hands around the shins or the back of the thigh. Again, if you find it useful, you might want to do some pointing and flexing of that left foot. Maybe a little bit of circling around. Then if it feels okay, I want you to stretch your right leg away from you. So you might take it to halfway. You might take it to all the way to being straight. But just noticing how just stretching that right leg away, it starts to affect how the lower back responds, how the pelvis feels. Just gently keeping a little bit of pressure upon that left leg. And you'll feel that gentle rise and fall of the abdominal area on the left-hand side of the body. So when you feel ready, we're going to slide that right leg back up to where it came from, foot upon the floor, right leg being bent. And then you're going to place your left ankle upon your right thigh and use your left hand to gently push that thigh away from you. So it hasn't got to be a kind of real force. It's just a light pushing away, just so we start to stretch across the hip flexor connective tissue and around that kind of front of the pelvic region. For some people, this might feel quite strong. For others, it might feel quite inconsequential, but just noticing the subtleties sometimes in the experiences that you're having. Sometimes noticing the types of sensation that you're feeling can be really interesting. Is the sensation, is it dull? Is it sharp? Where do you feel it? And then where do you notice it kind of spreading to? Sometimes you can feel the connective tissue releasing in other parts of the body, although we're focused on that hip area in front of the hip flexor. You might feel the sensation of release in other places as well. So we're going to come into that second variant of this. So if possible, reach towards your right leg, hands around the back of your right leg, or around your shin. And then you're going to draw that right leg in towards the body. And by doing this, it will start to stretch through that left glute area and around that left side of the hip. Again, for some people, they find it useful to flex through their left foot just to create a little bit more of a sense of tension. For some people, they might be really comfortable with the feet feeling quite gentle and quite free of tension. Maybe comparing how this felt between the right side and the left side. Maybe you've noticed one side of you feels a little bit tighter, or there's an experience that feels different from one side compared to the other. So just a couple more breaths in this position. And then we're going to let that right foot find the floor again. We're going to cross the left thigh on top of the right thigh. And then, depending on if you need something to bring the floor up towards the legs, or whether the legs come to the floor naturally, you're going to let those knees drop over towards your right hand side, stretching the arms out at chest height, and then turning your head in the opposite direction, which should be towards the left if you've been following the instructions, but don't worry if you're doing something slightly different, as long as you do equal on both sides. That is perfectly okay. Again, remembering if you require to uncross the legs, if you find it too intense around this hip and leading up into this right rib area and through the right waist. Maybe you're feeling it in the left side more as we're stretching diagonally across the body, particularly with these arms being raised a little bit higher. So these diagonal shapes with the body really do work with the connective tissue. It stretches the fibers of our body in ways that we're not necessarily that used to stretching. Our bodies tend to move in quite linear ways and quite repetitive ways. So just acknowledging how that feels through your body, being in this twist. So when you feel ready, I'd like you to just gently roll the head back to the center. I'd like you to let the arms come down by your sides and gently think about rolling yourself out of this position. So again, we're going to hug the knees up and towards the body. Maybe have a little rock across the back or some circles around. We are going to stay on our backs just for one more position, which is going to be a supported bridge position. So I want you to utilize a bolster, or you might have a couple of cushions or some pillows or blankets, but just something firm that you're going to be able to put underneath your pelvis. So what we're going to do is lift our pelvis off of the floor up towards the ceiling, and then slide whatever it is that we're using to support ourselves underneath. But what we don't want to do is, you don't want it too far down, so you don't want it just supporting the buttocks. You want it to be across the back of the pelvis. So essentially, when you kind of let the body rest onto that support, you will feel quite supported across the middle of your body. So we don't want to be hanging backwards or forwards too much. If you haven't got a bolster, stacking up some towels can be quite good, or rolling up like some pillows or a duvet or something. You can also use a couple of blocks as well. So from this position, what I'd like you to do is just let your hands just lightly rest upon your abdominal area. So your elbows are going to be bent and your hands are just going to be resting against that abdominal area. If you feel this reclining bridge feel too high for you, I want you to lessen the height so you could half the height if you're feeling this is causing you too much pain or discomfort. This is a back bend that we're in. Some of you might find actually you want to even take the hips up a little bit higher so you could utilize, just grab a block, you could put another support underneath just to bring yourself up a little bit higher. For some people that might find or might support your body a little bit better. Just depends on what feels right for your body this evening. So this bridge position, as I say, it's a back bend. We've got our hips slightly forward of our shoulders. So we're working mostly on the kind of lower, the lumbar part of the spine. But also we're in a very mild inversion as well. So our heart is above our heads. So again, if you're maybe suffering with things that affect pressure in your body, like high blood pressure, low blood pressure, for example, and they're unmedicated, if anything doesn't feel right being in this position, then I would suggest come out. Also, sometimes, you know, if you've got respiratory conditions, you're feeling quite blocked up, you've got a cold or anything that might put too much pressure through the head or through the throat area, you might just want to come out and lessen the gradient that you're in. So for those that feel comfortable, what you could consider doing is stretch your legs away from you. And as you stretch your legs away from you, what will happen is, again, we'll get a bit of a deeper stretch across the front of the hip flexors, across the front of the abdominal area. So again, you'll be able to maybe feel this stretching across the front of the pelvis. If that lower back feels too compressed or too condensed, you can always come back to where we were, or again, lessen the height of what it is that you are using to rest upon. Another option you could try here is to take the arms overhead. So you're taking them off of the abdomen and stretching them over the top of your head. And this can be done in that bridge position or this more unsupported bridge position. So if you are in this more unsupported version, I want you to walk your feet back to where they came from. If you've got your arms overhead, bring them back down by your sides. And then what I'd like you to do is push your feet into the floor, lift your hips away from whatever it is that you've been supporting yourself with, and then draw it out. And then allow yourself to slowly come down. So you're really taking your time to come down. As you come down, it might feel quite strange going into that lower back because we've been in a back bend. We're back in a slight forward fold with our backs. And you might even find that you want to just have a little rock across the back or circle around on the back just to help to release any tension or any tightness there. I'd invite you to bring your feet onto the floor. And when you feel ready, we're going to roll ourselves to one side and gently push ourselves up, coming up into an upright position. I'm going to suggest sitting on a block or a cushion, blanket, something that you can just elevate the hips slightly with. We're going to come into a forward fold, but we're going to take our legs wide into a straddle to begin. And then what I'd like you to do is bring something into the center between your legs. That could be a cushion or a bolster. You might choose to stack a couple of things on top of each other. And then I want you to just lean into whatever it is that you have chosen to support your upper body with. So it could be a bolster long ways. You could turn it lengthways and lean on it. You might find as you start to come forward, a slight bend of your knees can take some pressure off the hamstrings and off of the lower back region. For some people, they might find they need to support their head. So you might want to elevate slightly the support that's underneath and allow your elbows to rest upon it and bring your hands to support the forehead or under the chin. So where we've been in that back bend for a few minutes, we're coming into a forward fold, which is going to help to counterpose the experience that we've just had. So again, noticing if you're holding any unnecessary tension within you or around you. Inviting that ease, inviting that softness. Not only in the body, but a softness in our energy, a softness in our minds, even a softness in the way that we converse within ourselves, the conversations that we have. With ourselves. So when you feel ready, I'd like you to gently begin to just edge your way back up, bringing yourself out of that position, just giving yourself a moment just to recover. If you've got a blanket or a thin cushion, I want you to just pop it in front of you. We're going to use that in a few seconds. We're going to come into a seated cross-legged position. And then what I'd like you to do is maybe see how it feels to place a blanket kind of between your legs. So I've just got a blanket kind of between my back leg and my front leg. So you might find just by doing that, it just takes a little bit of pressure off of kind of ankles or shins having to sort of cross closely into each other. If sitting cross-legged really doesn't feel comfortable for you, I'd like you instead to bring your feet together into what's known as Baddha Konasana. But if you're able to come into cross-legged with a blanket, I would encourage you to do that. We're also going to take something that we're going to pop on our right-hand side. So it could be a cushion, could be a pillow, could be a blanket, just something that we can bring our hand onto or our elbow onto. And then we're going to bring our right hand onto that support and just see how it feels to stretch our left arm up and then lean into that support. So some of you might find you want to actually take your elbow onto the support. Some of you might find with this left hand above you, you might prefer to just tuck it behind the back of the head. You might just sort of let it drape, so you're sort of bending the elbow, and you might just let it sort of flop over the head. What we're trying to avoid here is sort of allowing any part of ourselves to force or push any other part of ourselves too much. So it's quite useful to have some of these supports to just help to take some of the effort away from the body. Obviously, where we're stretching is through this left-hand side of the torso, up into the ribs and around that armpit area. If you find this is too intense with this left arm, you can always cross it across the body, or even just place it on the left-hand side, and just leaning over in this right-hand side is still going to be enough to get that stretch through the lateral side of the body. So with your left hand, what I'd like you to do is now place it on your right knee. We're going to push ourselves back up to a more upright position, but let your right hand just slip back behind you. And we're just coming into a really gentle twist. So this twist being focused a little bit more on the mid and the upper part of our torso. You might want to turn your gaze and look all the way over that right shoulder. Again, you might choose to close the eyes or focus your gaze upon something that isn't moving. So this process of allowing our eyes to focus on something is called our drishti, our focal point. And when the eyes aren't darting around, the mind tends to follow. It gets a little bit quieter, a little bit less distracted. So when you feel ready, we're gently going to turn ourselves back towards the front. As we come towards the front, I want you to just notice what leg's on top, what leg is underneath. We're going to uncross the legs and we're going to bring them into the opposite formation. So this is where, again, the blanket can be quite useful because we've normally got one side that feels very dominant and feels very easy to do. This second side sometimes can feel a little bit uncomfortable. It can work the hip joints and work the kind of lower back in a slightly different way. So just taking a moment just to sort of notice if you need to shift a little bit to settle, acknowledging how the difference can feel quite unusual sometimes. We're going to take our support and move it on the other side. So we're bringing it to our left-hand side. And again, a hand or an elbow is going to rest upon that support. We're going to lean over and then start to see if we can float that right arm. We might want to stretch it overhead and be quite sort of dominant with that right arm and kind of really stretch through that right side of the body. You might find being a lot softer with your intention, maybe even letting your fingers kind of be quite soft and quite gentle. Again, you might prefer to just lightly cut the back of the head or just hold the side of the neck. You may prefer not having the arm up. If you've got any shoulder complaints going on, you could just bring that left hand over onto the right knee or onto the support, or you could just rest it by your side. And the most important thing that we're doing here is we're stretching through this right hand side of the torso. Notice if you're kind of gritting your teeth together, you might be making a face. So just relax in the face muscles. Maybe even thinking about directing your breath over towards that right hand side of your rib cage. So when you feel ready, we're going to bring that right hand onto our left knee, and we're going to push ourselves all the way back up. We're going to keep that hand where it is on that knee, but let our left hand drift back behind ourselves and gently turn, looking over towards that left shoulder. Again, feeling that twist happening from the kind of mid part of the spinal column up through the chest, maybe even through the back of or through the center of the neck, and through the center of the head. If possible, allowing the shoulders to gently relax and soften. Again, these diagonal stretches across the body, helping to work that connective tissue in different ways, helping to undo some of those habitual ways that we use our body during the day. And for those that are practicing this in the evening, maybe ready for a full night's sleep. So when you feel ready, we're going to unwind ourselves back out of this position. I want you to free your legs out of this formation. And we're going to come into child's pose as our last position before we come into our relaxation. So either bringing your legs quite close together or taking your knees wide but keeping your big toes together. I want you to take your bottom back in the direction of your heels. You could cross your forearms and rest your head on your forearms. You could rest your head upon the floor. You might want to take your bolster, pop it between your legs, and use it to rest the body upon if you find going to the floor is too uncomfortable for you. Just allowing yourself just a few moments here to allow the energy to settle. Allowing the breath to find its natural pattern. So when you feel ready, allowing yourself to just shift the way that you're breathing very slightly, just to indicate to ourselves that we're going to start to move. We're going to gently push ourselves out of our child's pose. As we're in an upright position, what I'd like you to maybe do is just think about putting on some warmer clothing. So if you need to put some socks on or a jumper, if you need some extra layers, then please do. And I want you to bring yourself into a position that feels comfortable for you to be able to be still for about the next 15 to 20 minutes. What I'm just going to do while everyone's getting ready, is just turn the lights down in the studio. So if you're watching this at home, it will be just an outline of me. So as well as making sure that you're going to be comfortable in terms of what you've sort of put on you or around you, also make sure that the room that you're in feels comfortable as well. So turning lights down, covering the eyes, maybe putting the phone on silent if you know there's a chance you might be disturbed. I'd like you to just take a few moments just to allow yourself to settle from the transition. I almost kind of like to think sometimes that every time we move, it's almost like shaking up a snow globe again. So we just need to let all the snow kind of settle. Just letting it find where it needs to be now. That be in the body, the energetic systems, the mind. Allowing it to settle. I'd invite you to allow yourself to create a circle of protection around yourself. So this circle of protection can be made of anything you'd like it to be made of. It might be made of energy, of light. It might be made of color. It might be plants or trees, wood, steel, water. It could be bricks or clay. You're creating this circle of protection around yourself. And outside of that circle of protection, life is going to continue to happen. We're still going to hear the sounds. We're going to be aware of life happening. But within our circle of protection is a space that we're creating for ourselves. A space for healing, a space for reflection, a space for us to rest. So the next part of our practice involves an awareness of different parts of your body. There's no need to move any part of yourself, but what you may wish to do is just allow each part of yourself to be welcomed into a sense of healing, of rest, of calmness and quietness. Welcomed into that circle of protection that we've made for ourselves. So we're going to start off this evening's journey with an awareness at the back of our skull. So be aware of the back of your skull. Then be aware of the top of your skull. Be aware of your forehead, of your eyes, your ears, your cheeks, your nose, of both of your nostrils. Being aware of your mouth, your tongue, your throat. Being aware of the slopes of your shoulders, of your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms, your wrists. Being aware of the palms of the hand and the backs of the hand, of both of your thumbs and of all of your fingers. And then transferring your attention from the thumb and the fingers back up to the slopes of your shoulders. Being aware of your collarbones, the front of your breast or chest area. Being aware of both of your armpits, of your shoulder blades, and the upper part of your back. Being aware of the back of your ribs, the sides of your ribs, of the front of your ribs. An awareness of your upper abdomen, the navel region, your lower abdomen. An awareness of both sides of your waist, of your lower back, of your tailbone. An awareness of both buttocks, both hip joints, an awareness of the pelvic bowl. An awareness of the front of your thighs, the backs of the thighs, the fronts of your knees, the backs of your knees, an awareness of your shin bones, calf muscles, ankle joints, and heels. An awareness of the soles of the feet, the tops of your feet. An awareness of all of your toes. And be aware of the whole of your body within that circle of protection. The whole of your body. Able to rest, to heal, to recover. I'd invite you to draw your awareness to your breath. And notice the breath as it just naturally comes and goes. Notice with the in-breath where there is a sense of expansion. With the out-breath, a sense of softening or releasing. And I'd invite you to draw your attention to the area at the center of your sternum, your energetic heart center. Imagine that energetic heart center as a light, a sense of energy, a place of your awareness. And as you breathe in, I'd invite you to allow that energetic heart center to feel like it's expanding, filling with the breath. And as you breathe out, it's as though you're breathing all of that beautiful, energetic light into that circle of protection all around you. So as you breathe in, it's as though that heart center is expanding. And as you exhale, it's as though all of that energy is just filling that energetic circle all around you. You may even visualize or imagine the expansiveness at the center of your heart and the expansiveness within that circle of protection all around you. Filling you and all around you with healing energy, with light, with love and compassion for yourself. Allowing your energetic heart center and the circle of protection to be filled with what brings you joy, what allows you to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes on those days when we find it difficult to connect with joy, just knowing there's a space that can be filled when we're ready. Just being here is enough. Draw your attention once more back to that energetic heart center. And acknowledging to ourselves with great respect and love, I honor my heart. I honor my inner teacher. With great respect and love, honor your heart. Honor your inner teacher. If there's anything your heart needs to let you know at this time, now is the time to be aware, to listen. I'd like you to once more be aware of that circle of protection that you placed around yourself. And allow yourself now to listen to what's going on beyond that circle of protection. Be aware of the sounds of life, of movement, of things happening outside. Know that that circle of protection is always there for us. And as we begin to gently allow ourselves to move out of that resting state and begin to encourage our breath to get a little bit deeper, to bring a little bit of movement back into the body, allowing ourselves to stretch, to yawn, to sigh. You might find you want to hug yourself into a little ball. If you've been lying on your back, you might want to roll on your side. If you've been on your side, you might want to roll in another position. If you've been sitting, you might want to just change the way that you've been sitting. Just taking a few moments just to let yourself just kind of be in that kind of midway point. And as you feel ready, just gently bringing yourself up into a seat that feels comfortable for you to close the practice. So allow yourself to sit in a position that allows your spine to be as upright as possible. And we focus that relaxation very much on that energetic heart center. So I'd like you to now just place your hand against that energetic heart center, so at your sternum, the center of the chest or breast. Sometimes when we do those practices, we can feel a little bit open through that area. So just allowing ourselves just to place the hands there and just connect with that area of ourselves. Connecting with that energetic heart. And allowing ourselves to once more acknowledge with great respect and love Honor your heart. Honor your inner teacher. With great respect and love, I honor my heart, my inner teacher. So allow yourself to maybe recognize what it is that you're taking from this practice this evening. What layers of yourself do you feel you've worked upon? And what will continue to support, nourish, and guide you as you step off of this mat and step back into your life. To close our practice, I'd invite you, if you feel comfortable, to bring your hands together into Amanjali Mudra. You may prefer to keep them at that energetic heart center, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Bowing your head lightly towards the hands, acknowledging our heart that we have worked with, but also the hearts of each other, the collective hearts that we all have as a group. And also acknowledging the hearts of those of millions of people that we don't know, but some way are energetically and intrinsically all linked together. Whenever we're in doubt, remember to listen to the heart. Om Shanti.